Oh, hi, David. I was just going over the order of service for today, and I thought of a couple of things that I'd want to tell people. That 3 out of the 4 musical pieces are also actually hymns from our hymnal. And if they knew them, they might want to sing along. The first hymn is the Prelude, and it's number 1046 in the Teal hymnal, Shall We Gather at the River. Our second, what is called the Interlude, our second piece is number 128, For All That Is Our Lives, from the Slate hymnal. The third piece, the offertory, is May Nothing Evil Cross This Door, hymn number 1 in Singing the Living Tradition, the Slate hymnal. The postlude, you're just going to have to wait and see what that is. Our opening words are by the Reverend Emily Wright Magoon. They are called Currents That Beckon Us. Here in this sanctuary this morning, we do find the world, because we are of and in and from the world. Some of us weary with exhaustion, some bitter from too much testing, some with a yearning for more than the surface life, some aching to give and receive, some eager to cross new thresholds. All of us wounded in some ways, all of us triumphant in some ways. The world is all here, among us, within us, and yet we also consecrate here and now a different time, a different space in which we can practice settling into the deeper waters of life, in which we can feel the ripples of currents that beckon us into the heart of our lives, into the heart of this world. Come into this space where this morning we consider the practice of the Sabbath as a discipline of wholeheartedness. Come and be welcome. Our chalice lighting words are by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who said, "The truth is, indeed, that love is the threshold of another universe." A long time ago, in a small village in Poland, there lived a rabbi who was beloved by his people. I have adapted this story called Feathers from Eliza Davy Permain's wonderful book, Once Upon a Time, Storytelling to Teach Character and Prevent Bullying. It seems very appropriate in these times when the truth is threatened, when being a person of character isn't as often emphasized as perhaps it once was, and when bullying is quite common. The rabbi was busy all the time. He was always either studying or teaching or talking in the temple or visiting upon the sick and infirm. And he was a counselor to the town's leaders. And he sat as a judge before the people. He loved his work. And then, as is always the case in our work lives, he was challenged by something that really was certain to be trouble. A woman came to him one day and said, Rabbi, you must help me. And the rabbi said, what can I do? And she said, that Chaim has been telling stories about me. He said he saw me talking to a man at the market. I had only stopped to give him directions, but Chaim made it seem otherwise, and now my husband is angry with me. What can you do to help? Then Chaim sat with that and walked on. And as he was walking through the town, he came upon the town baker, who said, Rabbi, you must talk to Chaim. That young man has no reason. The other day, he was buying bread from me, and I must have given him the wrong change. And instead of coming back to me, he spread around to everybody that I was a crook and that I was taking people's money and cheating them. My business is already suffering. What shall you do? And then he came upon another woman. He visited her weekly in her home because she had a bad back from a terrible fall. And when the rabbi spoke to her, he said, how are you, my dear woman? And she said, oh, Rabbi, I am in so much pain. And the rabbi said, I know you are. And she said, no, it's not from my back, although that hurts. It's from that Chaim. That Chaim has been telling people that my back injury is just not as bad as I've made it out to be, and that I've been seen by him dancing around my living room. Oh, I wish I could dance again. Is there anything you can do to help me? For I am in pain, and this is only added to it. So Chaim thought, the rabbi thought, and he went to his study and he read from the Talmud and he read from the Midrash, and he walked out and knocked on Chaim's door and said, Chaim, you have been spreading lies about the people and they have come to me. And Chaim said, no, I'm having fun. I'm just saying things, little jokes. I don't mean anything by it. Well, you've already hurt many people with what you've said. And he said, well, I will, Rabbi, I see now what you mean. I'll go and find these people and take back all my words and tell them that I'm sorry and all will be forgiven. And the rabbi said, it will not be so easy as that. And Chaim said, no, it will be. I'll just take back what I said. And the rabbi said, no, I think we need a lesson first. Tomorrow morning, first thing, meet me in the town square and bring your best feather pillow. And Chaim said, thinking, oh, is this how I'm going to get out of it? Is all I have to do is bring a pillow to the rabbi? Certainly, Rabbi, I'll do it. And in the morning, the rabbi came to the town square, and there was Chaim holding his pillow. And the rabbi said, I don't think you understood what I was saying, so I'm going to show you. He took a knife, and he cut open the top of the pillow, and he gave it back to Chaim, and he said, now I want you to reach into that pillow and take every feather and throw it out up in the air, get it out of the case. And Chaim said, rather perplexed, yes, I'll do that. Yes, all right. And so he threw out all the feathers, and they went hither and yon. Some rolled down the street, some blew up into the rooftops, others went into the the pens where the animals were kept, and some just disappeared. And the rabbi said to Chaim, and now I want you to go get every feather that you've thrown out and bring it back and put it and fill the pillowcase again. And Chaim said, I can't do that. Some of them have blown away. I didn't see where they all went. Some are up in trees. So, how would I tell that from those of a preening bird? That is your trouble, isn't it? He said, well, I'll try. And as he was trying, he realized he was never going to get all the feathers back. And he said, Rabbi, what should I do? He said, you thought it was so easy to take back your slanderous words against your neighbors, that you would be able to go and you'd have control over those words, just like you would have control over the feathers, but I see you can't control them. Some have flown away. Others have been taken up by other people probably, and you cannot even get the feathers back. I don't think you'll be able to take all your words back and get all the trust of your neighbors. But Chaim said, I will try. I will try very hard. I won't talk about people anymore. I'll keep my little jokes to myself. I'll apologize to people, whether they accept it or not. I'll do my piece. And he said, okay. And he gave Chaim back his pillowcase half full of feathers. And Chaim walked away. And as he walked, the rabbi looked at him and said to himself, I hope that he'll be able to do this, to keep from spreading gossip. I believe he can, if he tries, keep from spreading gossip. But just in case he should forget what the rest of his life is about, I will go over and take this feather and nail it to his front door so he never forgets. And thus ends the story for today. Our first reading is by Stephen Crane. It's poem number 28, Truth, said a traveler. Truth, said a traveler, is a rock, a mighty fortress. Often have I been to it, even to its highest tower, from whence the world looks black. Truth, said a traveler, is a breath, a wind, a shadow, a phantom. Long have I pursued it, but never have I touched even the hem of its garment. And I believed the second traveler, for truth was to me a breath, a wind, a shadow, a phantom, and never had I touched the hem of its garment. Our prayer this morning is by Reverend L.A. McCrae. It's called Mindful of the Mystery of Thresholds. Source of all that is living, as we gather this morning, mindful of the mysteries of thresholds, calm our uneasy and anxious spirits. May we be open to the mystery and blessings of what awaits on the other side of this great transition. Allow love and light to penetrate places of fear, desperation, hopelessness, and despair. Encourage our spirits and strengthen our connections so that we may be a threshold people. Give us the certainty to walk with those who are standing at the thresholds of indecision, uncertainty, and doubt. Provide for us the courage to speak truth to power. May we continue to love unapologetically. Let this love carry us from indecision and doubt to peace and resolve. Be with us now and always, holding us in the tender moments of growth. Amen. And now let us share a peaceful moment together, making our bodies still and so too our minds. Breathe and let your breath be natural. Don't try to catch the thoughts that come and go into and out of your awareness. Let them come and go like feathers in the wind. Now let us enter the beautiful silence. Blessed be, and blessed are we. This is the view of the sanctuary from the chancel, as I see it today. What is missing? Why, you, of course. You are what gives this congregation life. Your time, talent, and treasure are what keep it moving forward. Now is the time for our offering. Give what you will. Mail in your pledge check. Donate on our website. The three of us may be the only people here just now, but in this space we are here for you, to keep our spiritual home, to bring to you the worship of our free religion, so important in divided and uncertain days as this. May this offering, so generously given, be wisely used for the good of the people. Our second reading is by the enigmatic Belle of Amherst, Emily Dickinson, poem 1129. Tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies. To write for our infirm delight the truth's superb surprise. As lightning to the children eased with explanation kind, the truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind. Our message for today is called Beat the Press. How often do we see the press at work? Young reporters at a vigil on Central Square here in Keene, interviewing participants or members of the crowd while a staff photographer takes pictures. We see our share of television crews here in New Hampshire, especially during primary season, trying to hear what the candidates, and more importantly, what New Hampshireites have to say. Of course, we see them in the press room at the White House, trying to get their questions answered and any information or misinformation clarified. We often think of the press gathering in crowds around a victim's family as they leave the courthouse, having just heard the verdict, or singly questioning a startled and owly executive or public official who they have caught off guard about some wrongdoing that has been alleged against them. Many of us can conjure up the picture of a world-weary war correspondent reporting from the front lines or on the lawn in front of the Pentagon. The free press, whose integrity, honesty, and doggedness in pursuing truth on the local, national, and international stage is a hallmark of the strength and character of a nation. As collectively, they are an instrument of accountability within a local community or a sprawling democracy. It could be said that the health and independence of the press, the media, and the various purveyors of content are vital to a nation's health and any hope that we have to create, as the words of our sixth Unitarian Universalist principle state, the goal of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Now, that's heady stuff. A really tall order for the dwindling membership of a less and less free press to shoulder. The media can also seem, and in fact must to some extent, be a nuisance. Always rocking the boat, always looking for a story, always asking tough and pointed questions that many of us actually want the answers to, but cringe at the thought of asking to one in power or in distress. The stereotype is often of someone who is pushy, demanding, rude, and distrustful. Of course, this is a stereotype, and how else would you have them do the job of finding out what really happened in that government scandal, or why the investigation of a frightening murder has stalled, or how should we understand why some communities have better schools, safer water, and more opportunities for employment than others do? Although we may choose to ignore the idea in a political climate when it is daily accused as being inaccurate, divisive, entirely fabricated, and of course, fake news, history would show that the press, however fair and objective we would want it to be, is not entirely free from bias, as it has never been entirely free from the influence of wealth and money, political influence, and government restrictions. In fact, the editorial section, as well as the viewer feedback offered on radio stations, the equal time given to divergent points of views on a television news, are deliberate attempts to offer a diversity of ideas, hopefully representing different elements of the society as concerns gender, race, religion, occupation, and income. This is World Free Press Day, World Press Freedom Day. And on this World Press Freedom Day, let us take a look at the Fourth Estate in the post-truth age. In a Washington Post article from December 30th, 2019, reporter Siobhan O'Grady mentioned a study by the Committee to Protect Journalists that 554 journalists and 49 media workers, evidently support staff, were killed in the last decade, although at that time the cause of the deaths of 25 other journalists were as yet undetermined. In its annual global survey, the Committee to Protect Journalists found at least 250 journalists in jail in relation to their work, compared with an adjusted 255 a year earlier. While the majority of journalists imprisoned worldwide face anti-state charges, in line with recent years, the number charged with false news rose to 30, compared with 28 last year. While independent media outlets still exist, according to webfx.com, the major outlets are almost all owned by these six conglomerates: National Amusement, Sumner Redstone, Disney, Time Warner, Comcast, News Corp, that's Rupert Murdoch, and Sony. To be clear, the article went on to say, media in this context does not refer just to news outlets. It refers to any medium that controls the distribution of information. So here, media includes 24-hour news stations, newspapers, publishing houses, internet utilities, and even video game developers. According to a UNESCO report, by far the greatest menace to editorial independence in a growing number of countries across the world is media capture, a form of media control that is achieved through systematic steps by governments and powerful interest groups. This capture is through taking over and abusing regulatory mechanisms governing the media, state-owned or state-controlled media operations, public funds used to finance journalism, and finally, ownership of privately held news outlets. You might ask at this point, why is this important to those of us who are part of a free religious tradition? What about this connects to our faithful example of Unitarian Universalist principles and our own congregational mission? Well, let me count the ways. 1, moneyed interests have made it difficult for people to rely on the mainstream media for truth, both by owning the vast majority of major and secondary news outlets. The moneyed elite of this country and others include many, if not most, of our elected national officials. They control content, undermine and overturn regulations designed to keep our airwaves and web spaces free, while using valuable network news programming time to promote products that their network or other businesses want time given to. This impairs our ability to have a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Principle 4. And as the ownership of the controlling group is following a rigid, insensitive, and biased economic model, the goal of world community. Number 6. And respect for the independent web of all existence. Number 7. Are often kicked to the curb as insignificant or averse to an exploitative, uber-capitalistic agenda. 2. In this time of crisis, the lack of access to reliable, specific, and local information about the spread of COVID-19 is even more life-threatening for about half the country. Excuse me. As Teresa Foreman, writing for democracyfund.org, put it, even before COVID-19 swept the country, shuttering businesses and drying up ad spending, local news was in a precarious spot. Over the last 15 years, more than 1,800 newspapers have closed across the United States. Of the 2,485 U.S. counties that reported COVID-19 cases as of April 6th, 50% are news deserts. There's a phrase for you, news deserts, meaning relevant and accurate information is scarce while misinformation is easily accessible. The struggle to find clear information about your neighborhood is even harder if you live in a rural community, have a low income, or are a person of color. How can we talk of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, as we do in Principle 2, and the use of the democratic process in society at large, Principle 5, when so many of our neighbors are bound to wander the often unfiltered, narrow-minded, and false stories they find on the internet as they live otherwise in media deserts. Local news, like local churches, are organs of resistance and resilience in times of trouble. 3, also, the web has made everyone a potential reporter, and even mainstream media outlets depend on them for breaking news. Although this has often led to important truths being exposed and shared, the web is also manipulated by its masters and easily taken advantage of, allowing for a false feeling of democratization, of truth-telling. They instead spread falsehoods and propaganda by unidentifiable paid influencers, drawn out by algorithms. Meanwhile, according to UNESCO, legal and regulatory restrictions on free speech are being rapidly imposed in many countries, creating a regulatory environment that further limits independent reporting on the crisis, such as COVID-19 and the responses to it. As we strive toward being that compassionate community, a community that is committed to our principles and to our neighbors, we must brace ourselves for the struggles ahead and question the assumptions we make. This includes how we respond to the media, how we use it, how we test it for accuracy, how we make sure it is democratic in construction and orientation to truth and the common weal. We must decide how to use it and for what purposes to our advantage. Free religion, with all of its qualifications and volunteerism, has somehow lost its ability to capture the minds of the people by opening them up to reason, investigation, faithful work, and common causes. We must use our voices, We must use our minds, means, and muscle to support and foster the fragile shoots of beloved community that we see coming through the ground even during this spring of distancing. We must see to it that this community and its programs are strong and enticing enough to help construct robust, three-dimensional manifestations of the values we hold and the communities we hope to see spread over from sea to sea, spread over the harm our species has done in the world. We need to speak up more often and overtly build relationships with other faith communities and people of what used to be called goodwill and sacrificial spirit. Let this house be a platform where all voices are heard and each one respected, where truth and justice may not actually be universal and singular, but larger and smaller building blocks that together can be assembled into a living sanctuary, a place for the generous, whether rich or poor, a place for the trustworthy, whether commonsensical or visionary, a place for the compassionate, whether shy or chatty. Let us be that congregation of loving, resolute, and courageous believers, believers in the power of creative, unceasing, and multifaceted love, who lead when we must, who follow when we should. So let it be as it should be. Good people, the good words for our leave-taking are from John O'Donoghue's For Citizenship, from his book, To Bless the Space Between Us. The industry of distraction makes us forget that we live in a universe. We have become converts to the religion of stress and its deity of progress, that we may have courage to turn aside from it all and come to kneel down before the poor, to discover what we must do, how to turn anxiety back into anger, how to find our way home. Go in peace and with a purpose.